This is The Hunter Gets Captured by the Game, Part 2. It was a week after the sex party. She was feeling a little emotional heaviness. Her life had her doing things that she never thought she would do. She had gone beyond what she thought her boundaries were. She used to think about getting married, raising a family. Now she sees herself attached to a man who won't choose her, ever. And she's getting trauma bonded by doing things that cause her spiritual pain. She's becoming a part of the street conversation. She's gone from having just one boyfriend to sleeping with different combinations of people. She had begun to accept the role society had foisted on her. She was becoming bitter. She was seeing that her interests were not mattering to anybody but her. She had, in a few short years, managed to go from being someone who knew love was possible to being someone chasing a man that she would be ashamed to bring home to mama. Now, she had wanted some alone time with Mr. Smooth. She had asked for a Friday night so she could release some tension and feel cared for. But Mr. Smooth had other plans for that evening. He said he had business to tend to. Yeah, she thought, with some other woman. Now, every now and then, the planets align and things change big time. This was one of those times. It was a few days after that Friday night. She was at his spot. She was in one of those moods where she was hurting and wanted to hurt back. Did you miss me last Friday? After I called you and you said you were going to be going out, I got a call from Misty, our friend from the other night when we partied. She said she wasn't doing anything and she was coming by with a friend. And when she came by, she brought that fellow that you two had introduced you to her. She also had some party favors, everything we needed for a stimulating time. Now, after the shoes came off and a few drinks and a few hours of the wet tour, we were exhausted. The gentleman she brought with her, wow, he seemed like he knew my rhythm. I tried to keep him in mind, but he was breaking my back wide open. He called out for his mama when I made him spill. The only thing that was missing was you. Now, this is the part that they leave out when the Red Pill alphas tell the stories of their coolness. This alpha was trapped in his role. He knew that he had to harden his grip on his emotions. He had to pay close attention to his eyes and the expression on his face. He couldn't let her know how deeply her words were cutting him. But that was exactly what she wanted to do. Have him feel what it's like to be thrown around like she had been thrown around. Now, this was a blow to his very soul. But who could he confess to? The life he had chosen was squeezing him so hard that he could hardly breathe. He knew something was not right with the path he was on. But he's afraid to take a chance on love. He brought into the conversation that all women will lie and cheat. Now that conversation has caught up with him. He had been doing everything to feature himself as an alpha with complete control. But that's now how God created us. Listen, because he had come to master his control of his face and to control his response to irritation, no one really knew him. He had spent years hiding his passion and often acting in ways against his feelings. He had unknowingly accepted the role and the behaviors that society had laid out for him. Oh yeah, it's all good when you're wet and wild in bed, but as a person with emotions, he was totally alone. All of his disguising, his passions, has left him with women who choose him because of his standing in the street, not because of the quality man that he is. Some want him because other women want him. And part part two of our video, Don't Ever Weaken, we learned about how some women may feel and therefore believe that they can change a man. But he has spent years hardening his heart against any woman who would try to get close to him. Little did he know that the walls he built around himself what turned out to be what kept him separate from the nurturing and care that he needed. But the streets weren't through banging his heart around. When his main lady told him about what happened, he was livid. As soon as he was alone, he called Misty, the female friend that he and his girl had a party with. Why, he wanted to know. Why would she bring another man to have a threesome with his main woman? This was going against street etiquette. Everybody knows you don't go back to the man's woman when he's not included. Imagine his surprise when she told him what really happened. That it was his girl who had called her and said she wanted to do a guy with her again. She said she liked the way that they, the women, had taken control in the lovemaking. She said she wanted her to get somebody who knew what to do with a woman's body. And she suggested the street friend that they had been talking about. This is the end of part 2. This woman walked without him through the doors that he had opened. Now his woman's hood-rat behavior would have street implications. Go on to part 3 to hear what some of the fallout was. But before you go, remember to subscribe and hit the like button.